I just want to try and put it back to like you were saying, layman's terms, or to keep it simple. What would somebody expect, let's say, prior to the work that you've done in terms of changing the legislation? What would a dad, to use that example, expect when he was walking into court in such a litigation case versus what he could expect now? Can you sort of put it
Sure.
in example terms? Yeah.
Yeah. So, in most cases, and a lot of cases before the law changed, it was kind of, even though the law says that the sex isn't a factor, it was always a factor. And in practice, we had a lot of old judges that would award custody to moms, primary custody or sole custody. And the stats show that not only from our state, from states all across the U.S., that 80 to 90% of primary custody decisions go to mom.
Mm.
So to change that dynamic, I mean, dads from the outset before the law changed were kind of on the playing defense. You had to prove something above and beyond that moms just didn't have to prove, that you were fit and capable of sharing joint custody. And the other dynamic is that a lot of judges just did not want to award joint custody in our state. They kind of had this, even though our law from 2013 said we favored it, they just had this predisposition against awarding joint custody, particularly in cases where the parents could not necessarily
Work it
get
out
along all the
themselves.
time, or they're arguing. There's any kind of conflict. The judges would use that as a reason to say, "Oh, they can't, they can't get along, so we're not going to award joint custody." Which, it's an easy scapegoat, because any parents who are in litigation are going to have some conflict. So
Right.
it's just it's you can't say that there's not going to be any conflict. That's just the nature of litigation. So what we did with our law is to kind of reduce some of that, and we had some specific wording to address that point, to say before the judge can do something different than joint custody, the judge has to try to work out the conflict in the judge's order, to resolve the conflict before destroying joint custody. So whether that's
Wow.
giving dad, decisions on schools, and mom decisions on medical, or something like that, as a hypothetical, the judge has to try to work out that conflict in orders, if possible, before destroying joint custody.